now, notice what's different about this one. We have a k value, okay? Again, that's gonna cause a lot of change in what we've been doing so far. So we're gonna take our time for this one and make sure we do it right, okay? Our amplitude is 1/2, right? Our k value is now 2. So we talked about before, like everything changes if you have a k value, you're gonna see it now. So your period, remember we said is 2 pi, it's always divided by k. So that would be 2 pi divided by 2. So now our period is now pi, okay? Your increments are whatever your period is divided by 4. So that's just pi divided by 4, right? We have no phase shift, and vertical shift is up 1 or plus 1, however you want to say it. Okay, so now let's talk about things. This is going to completely change, well not completely change, but it's going to change how we label, right? Our increments now are not pi over 2 anymore, it's pi over 4. So that's what we're counting by. Instead of halves, we're counting by quarters as we go, right? So this is 1 pi over 4. 2 pi over 4, or pi over, or a half, right? 3 pi over 4, 4 pi over 4, which is pi, okay? And then the negatives on this side. Okay? So here's kind of one thing I was talking about, right? With the y values, you can change it. Since my amplitude is a half, I might change this and say that's 1 and that's 2. I might skip 1, just because I don't want it all crunched together, okay? Now, again, the difference there, let's talk about something. Remember what a period is in general. A period is the amount of time it takes for the wave, the sine, the cosine wave, whichever one you're dealing with, to complete one of its waves, or to complete one rotation around the circle, if you will, right? So now that's not going to be 2 pi anymore. It's only going to take us pi to get all the way around. So it's going to be a faster movement around, which means our things in here need to be a shorter value. It's going to get, basically, if you guys remember what this does back from like algebra 2, that's a horizontal shift, right? It's a horizontal compression or a horizontal stretch, right? So this is being compressed, it's being pushed together. So you're not really going to see it in the graph because we changed how we labeled, but that's why this is only going to pi now instead of 2 pi, okay? And if you count right and you do this right, this number here should always be what your period is, okay? So now let's graph. Good news is graphing doesn't change. Once you have done all this, it doesn't matter what the k is anymore. You've already taken care of it by doing that. So now your graphing is exactly the same way you did it before, right? We don't have a phase shift, so we don't have to shift left and right. We're still going to start here at 0, right? We're using sine, so we're using the 0, 1, 0, negative 1, 0 pattern, right? And then we do our thing. It's 0 times 1/2, which is 0, plus 1 is 1. Okay, then we move to pi over 4, where you're going to use the 1. It's 1 times a half, which is a half, plus 1, which is 1 1/2. Okay, pi over 2, you're using the 0 again. Well, you already did the 0, you know it's 1. But if you want to go through 1/2 times 0 plus 1 is 1. Okay, at 3/4, you're going to use the negative 1. Negative 1 times 1/2 is negative 1/2, plus 1 is a positive 1/2. Okay, and then we're back at 0 again. Okay, and there's your graph. Okay, one more time with this. Do not, when you go to do your negative side, do not just reflect it over. It doesn't work. It doesn't make sense, right? Look, let's just see if we did for a second. Let me just kind of sketch this out. Okay, you're not following, it's not one smooth, wavy pattern. You're going here and it stops short and then comes back up again. That's not what it's supposed to look like, okay? You don't want that. Follow your pattern. You went down, then up, then up, then down, then down, then up, then up, then down, right? It's the same pattern over and over again. Okay, and that's it. So the k value, when you have a k value, doesn't really change how you're plotting your points. All that's exactly the same as what we've done. It's your labeling that becomes big. And all this work up here becomes really super important. All right? Okay, so let's change this real quick and tell you what some other things that might happen. Okay? Because one of the big things that you really need to worry about with this is, and people always forget, and it's going to screw you up big time if you don't remember, when there is a k value, that is also going to affect your phase shift, right? Okay, and for some reason I didn't write it in there today, but this is always divided by k. Okay, I know I put it in there the last time. I didn't put it in there today for whatever reason, but it's always divided by k. Because think about it, right? If you are now shrinking this or expanding this horizontally, that's going to affect your shifts left and right, right? Because it doesn't really make sense to move this if you're changing your pattern. Okay, so let's take a look at one and see how it's going to affect everything and see what we need to do. All right. Let's put in okay. We're going to put them all in there and let's see what happens. Okay, what's our amplitude? Our amplitude is -2. Okay, what's our k value? Our k value is what number is being multiplied by that theta. It's not 2, right? 2 was, if it's 2 theta, that's 2. What number is really in front? It's a 1/2. Okay, and if you need to write this as 1/2 times theta to make it easier for you, then do that. Okay? Your period, 2 pi divided by k. All right, now, yes, you're gonna have to make sure you remember how to do this with fractions. You're gonna flip and multiply. So it's 2 pi times 2/1. You get 4 pi. Okay? Your increments, you're taking that 4 pi and you're dividing it by 4. That's kind of nice, and you'll see why in a second. All right, your phase shift. Okay, we're going left or right? Well, it's a positive, so we're going left. Okay, and how far left are we going? Well, we're going to take that pi and we're going to divide it by 1/2. Okay, remember that k, anything that moves horizontally is going to get affected by that value of k. All right, so that's going to be 2 pi. All right, and we're still going left. And we have a vertical shift of +1. All right, so labeling. Our increments are really kind of nice. It's just pi, so it's 1 pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi. All right, -pi, -2 pi, -3 pi, -4 pi. Okay. This, right? We have a -2, so let's just go by ones. Okay, so now again, from here on out, regular graphing like you know how to do, right? Well, the first thing we need to do is account for our phase shift, right? We move left 2 pi, so we're going to start here at -2 pi, right? Okay, so we're going to start here. This is our starting point. And we're doing cosine, so we're using these values. Again, that doesn't change, right? So then do the same thing that you always do, right? Starting here, it's 1 times -2 is -2, plus 1 is -1. Okay? 0 times -2 is 0, plus 1 is 1. -1 times -2 is 2, plus 1 is 3. Okay, to the pi, right? Again, you're doing 0. We already did 0. We know it's at 1. But again, you can go through and do the whole thing if you need to. -2 times 0 plus 1. And then we have 1 again. So -2 times 1 is -2 plus 1 is -1. And you're there. Okay? Technically, you have completed one full period there. So you can keep following the patterns if you want, right? You're going up, up, down, down, up, up, right? If you want. Or just keep going, right? Come back, you already did the 1, you're going to do a 0 again. And then you're going to do the -1. Okay, then don't forget, you need to go all the way both sides, right? So we're coming here, and then we're going there. And how did I get those points? Well, I just followed the pattern. Look at what you got. You went down, down, up, up, down, down, up, up. Right? Only makes sense. Okay? And there you go. Now, a couple things maybe we probably should have mentioned before, but pay attention to your amplitude and look at it. Notice how like there's always a distance. If you look from here to here, well, how far away, what's the height between those 2 points? What's the height distance? Well, it's 2. Your amplitude is 2, right? It should be like that for all of them. You should have almost like 3 lines here. You should have 1 line down here at the minimum, then you should have like a midline, and then a maximum line, right? And they should all be like, you could draw a horizontal line through all of them, and it would make sense, okay? All right, so hopefully, that all makes sense. If it doesn't, I'm gonna make more videos with more examples. Okay, if you guys feel like you're pretty confident, you can go ahead and start to try some. But right now, I'm gonna do some videos on, I'm gonna do a couple more examples and go through them. So see what you guys want. I'm also going to make up some videos where all I do is give you a function, give you an equation, and do just these. I'm gonna do like 3 or 4 of them, where all you have to do is come up with this information. Okay, because sometimes the period in here and the phase shift in there gets a little weird in the increments, especially with a bunch of fractions. I'm gonna make another video where all I do is find those values. Okay, so look at the different videos, whatever you need, and then away you go. You can try the assignment whenever you're ready.